Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we're doing the what's next on Devin Haney, the undefeated, former undisputed lightweight champion and newly crowned WBC junior welterweight champion of the world at 140 pounds, as he scored his really one-sided, dominant 12-round unanimous decision over Regis Prograis in his debut at 140 to capture the WBC title. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So, and also, guys, reminder, next week on Tuesday the 27th, the Champions Reports are going to start coming out, the 2023 Champions Reports. Every governing body, WBO, IBF, WBA, and WBC, I will take one video each to break down every title, belt, and champion and what happened this year and what I believe could happen in the new year from 122 all the way to heavyweight. So make sure you're paying attention to that. My last Champions Reports actually did very well. So I'm really looking forward to the year-end ones. And then I'm also doing my top 10s, my 2023 top 10s. My favorite thing to do, each fighter from 122 all the way to heavyweight that made the top 10 in their division, I am going to do a video on recapping his year and then the upcoming year and all that. So, yeah, just pay attention to those, because the top 10s is what got me into boxing to begin with, in terms of the videos, doing all these videos and getting my own YouTube channel. So, that's it. So back to Devin Haney, the newly crowned 140-pound champion, following this victory over programming. He dominated Regis Prograis. You know, I had a feeling that he could do it like that too. I really did. You know, I thought Prograis, I thought he would do better, obviously, but Devin Haney, the one question we didn't know was how much better or how good can he be not fighting at lightweight anymore. He's been saying for a couple years, you know, that it's tougher to make the weight. We know he was a big lightweight, we know that. You know, he decided to you know, give up all his belts at 135, which I thought, you know, was a big move. But here's what I believe happened with the Tank Davis. And now the big question is, what's next for Devin Haney before we talk about that? We're going to start with the Tank Davis news that just came out the other day. Eddie Hearn reported that Tank Davis turned down a $20 million offer to fight Devin Haney. So what I believe is that Devin Haney was only going to come back down to 135 for Tank Davis. Obviously, he has no interest in building his legacy and rematching Lomachenko. I'm not really going to get into all that again about that. So that wasn't an option. And obviously, after the way Shakur looked, and the way they went back and forth about not fighting each other, he wasn't going to come down to 135 for that fight. So, Tank Davis, I think, would have been the only option. And Tank turned down a $20 million offer, for that fight. So I think once Tank turned that fight down, I think Devin was like, what's the point? Let me just stretch my legs, fight at 140, which is better suited for me. It's more natural for me, and we can, you know, I can fight him there. And I absolutely understand that. You know, I really wish he would factor in the Lomachenko rematch at 135, but he's not. He didn't. Obviously, he's running from that, and I'm sorry, that's just a stone cold fact, but I'm not going to get all into that. I'll get into that when I do his year-end top 10. But now Devin Haney sits at the top of 140 with Teofimo Lopez pretty much. And now let's run through. I don't believe he's going to 147. I just don't see that. Not yet anyways. So let's see what's possible at 140 for him. We start with the Teofimo Lopez unification clash. I really don't think this fight's going to happen next. I think Devin, after dominating Regis Prograis, is probably going to want a quick turnaround fight, or quicker turnaround fight. Teofimo's fighting Jermaine Ortiz the Thursday before the Super Bowl. And I just don't think I just think Devin's gonna, maybe Teo's not gonna want to come back as quick, and I think Devin's probably gonna move on and fight somebody else, possibly even make a mandatory defense. Obviously, this is the desired fight, the biggest fight that can be made at 140, outside of maybe Ryan Garcia for Devin. But I really believe I'm leaning towards this fight is not likely to happen next. I could see it happening in the second half of the year, but for some reason, I'm not seeing it happen next. Then there's Josh Taylor, the former champion. Taylor's called out Devin Haney the other day, but I mean, for Devin, it's not that I don't think he would be interested, as I think he would look at it like, what's the point? He's coming off a clear loss to Teofimo Lopez, and he dominated a guy that Taylor barely beat a few years ago to become the top dog at 140, and Regis Prograis. So I just don't think there's enough of an appeal for a Josh Taylor fight for Devin Haney. A rematch with Regis Prograis is not happening. He dominated him. Jose Ramirez, not a bad option, but I think Devin's shooting for higher than that. But I wouldn't, deny that this fight could happen, because Ramirez is a former unified champ at 140. He's pretty solid, solid fighter. He's a big, junior welterweight. So maybe Devin would take him on to continue to build his resume at 140 if he can't fight anything bigger than that. Jack Catterall. I wouldn't be surprised if Devin considered this fight, simply because Catterall should have got the nod over Josh Taylor last year, and Haney can continue to try to build on that kind of stuff by fighting a guy like Catterall and dominating him. It'd be an easy fight to make, considering that Catterall's with the Zone and Eddie Hearn in Matchroom, so I wouldn't be surprised. I just think Catterall might not be a big enough name right now for Devin that Devin would want, but again, maybe he would be, because technically he should have got the win, and he hasn't received an opportunity at the title. He was actually supposed to fight Regis Prograis in June, so disappointing that Catterall hasn't been able to land another title shot. Devin might give him that. Sandor Martin is next. I honestly believe that Sandor Martin might be the front runner, because he's the mandatory challenger in the WBC. Devin might want to return quick and get it out of the way. Sandor Martin also just fought. He fought on December 16th right here and got a 4th round TKO, I believe it was, over some nobody. He stayed busy. He should be good. And Sandor Martin is hungry. And here's the kicker. Sandor Martin is not just his mandatory. He gave Teofimo Lopez all he could handle and lost a close, controversial decision at the end of last year. So Sandor Martin might be, Devin Haney might be trying to make a statement that would potentially make him the A side officially, and without a doubt, if Haney could take on Sandor Martin and dominate him, Teofimo Lopez would have to succumb to Devin being the A side. So I think he might fight Martin for 2 reasons: to get him out of the way and to one-up Teofimo Lopez. Then there's Subriel Matias, a unification bout. Not seeing that one. Devin would have to work with the PBC, which I don't think he'd mind doing. I just don't think Matias is a big enough name as of yet. But he does hold a world title, so I wouldn't completely rule it out. But I think Devin, again, is shooting for bigger names and maybe wouldn't want to take this bigger risk until Matias is a little bit more well-known, which I would totally understand. There's Gary Antoine Russell. Again, a PBC guy, not quite a big enough name yet, though, for a matchup with Devin Haney, in my opinion. So I think Devin would probably avoid this one. Arnold Barbosa Jr., not a bad opponent. And honestly, if Devin is working with Eddie Hearn more, then Arnold Barbosa just signed with Golden Boy in the Zone. So, Barbosa is fighting, I believe he's returning on the DAZN undercard of Virgil Ortiz in early January. After that, he might, you know, Barbosa's #1 in the WBO. If Teofimo doesn't want to fight him still, Devin might say, hey, I'll fight him. He's an undefeated fighter, but I think, again, he's a little bit on the lesser side of having a chance, in my opinion, just because he hasn't done too much and he's not too big of a name yet. I think Devin would shoot for higher. Then Ryan Garcia, another fight I'd love to see. I think this fight will definitely be discussed. I think it does have legs to happen next because both guys can fight on DAZN, and it's a fight that they've been calling for a long time. Devin's got a big name. Ryan, I think, wants to erase the loss to Tank Davis and come back right away. I think Devin might want to fight Ryan without putting weight clause restrictions, and if he could beat him, then he could call Tank Davis a little bitch and call him out more, and it would probably build a fight between Haney and Tank Davis a little bit more. So I think this fight definitely could happen and has legs to it. I said on the Ryan Garcia one, though, that I believe Ryan might want one more fight to shake off that loss to Tank. One more fight before Devin Haney, and I believe I'm more in that camp right there. And then there's guy, you know, Zepeda's out of the top 10 now. Rolly Romero's a WBA champion. It would be a unification bout, but I doubt it because Romero has mandatories due. He's going to fight the winner of O'Hara Davies and Ishmael Barroso, who fights on the Virgil Ortiz undercard in January. So for Devin Haney, a lot of options, obviously. He's pretty much in the driver's seat. He can pretty much fight whoever he wants. Some of the bigger fights like Teofimo and Tank and Ryan are going to be a little bit more difficult to make. So those three opponents right there, he probably just can't say, hey, I want you, you're going to fight me. Those got to be negotiated, and I don't think those are going to be the easiest ones to negotiate. Tank's off the table. Teofimo, I don't think will happen next. And Ryan, I think, is the most possible of those big three names because I think Ryan might want to fight him next. But I'm still leaning more towards Ryan wants to get another fight in against better competition to up his game and get him ready for Devin Haney in the second half of the year. And maybe they'll put a deal in place like Wilder and Parker, or Wilder and Joshua have right now, where they both have to win their next fight, and then they'll fight each other in the second half of the year. Very possible that could happen. The rest of the guys in the top 10, again, I think Sandor Martin is more likely because he's Devin's mandatory. The WBC might order it, and Devin might say, fuck it, let's get this out of the way. I want to beat this guy. And again, one up Teofimo Lopez because Martin gave Lopez trouble just last year. I think Jack Catterall, that has some legs to it. Outside of that, I think it's kind of long shots on Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez, but not to say that those can't happen. Anybody else in the top 10 or my top 10 from the mid part of the year, I don't think so. But again, I really believe it's going to be Haney and Martin, or I think Ryan Garcia's got a serious chance, or I could also see Jack Catterall getting the nod to fight him next. So we'll see what happens, but that's it. That's what I got. That's my what's next on the undefeated and newly crowned WBC Junior Welterweight champ at 140, Devin Haney, following his dominating 12-round unanimous decision win over Regis Prograis on December 9th on DAZN pay-per-view. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.